Hey everybody, it is Monday morning and it is Snipes and Stripes weekend edition, and this is a big weekend. And there is no question about it. Mr. Tempio, my partner, it's good to see you. Hope you had a great weekend leading up to the final game of the NHL season. And we can say that with 100% certainty because it's game seven. And you got to love a game seven in the Stanley Cup final, Tim. And this is sure to be an epic game. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing awesome. I woke up this morning, JR, and first thing I thought of is it's game seven. We've waited a long time for this. It's June 24th, but it's been worth every minute of it. And I'm excited for tonight. It's going to be awesome. Game seven, buddy. Game seven. The Edmonton Oilers have a chance to go in the history books. The last team to do this was the Toronto Maple Leafs in 1942,
I mean, unbelievable. During the World War II, during
right?
World War II. I mean, that's how long back that this happened. And first, let's thank our sponsors, Whiskey in the Wild. Go to whiskeyinthewild.com. Get your best chocolate orange, and chocolate whiskey of all time. As I say, always will be the best drinking experience of all time. Your protected neck guards, which are doing a lot of great things to protect a lot of kids out there, Tim. Way to go. And bet online.
Bet online. Bet online is your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season, from baseball, golf, soccer, right to the top fights in the UFC, MMA, and boxing. Every stat, every matchup, and even line odds and spread while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on the game or blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of these 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online. The game starts here.
Okay, speaking of betting.
What's that?
Speaking of betting, is there any tougher team to bet on right now in a game seven situation where anything goes? Obviously, Edmonton is on an absolute tear, and we've probably seen the biggest change of momentum maybe in hockey history in a lot of different ways. But Florida at home, and we know how hard it is to win 3 games in a row, let alone 4. Who like who has the advantage tonight? I we picked game 6 easily. I mean, you said 4-2. I said it was going to be a blowout. It was a blowout. But game 7, wipe away everything that just happened. It's a
Yep.
one-game series, and winner takes home that lifts that cup above his head. You can't get a better finale with 2 great teams and the best player in the world.
You know what? I think there's too much hype right now. I think too many people are thinking Florida's done. They've lost 3 in a row. McDavid didn't even get a point last game, and they scored 5 goals. They've gained all the momentum, but Florida or Edmonton fans aren't going to be happy with this. But I think Florida's going to win Game 7. I just think, and this is the big thing there. I think whoever scores first is going to win this hockey game. And I know that might sound like, oh, well, that's not much of a. Well, it is a bit of a because say somebody scores in the first 2 minutes, you still got 58 minutes to play. But I really think whoever scores the first goal, we saw it in Edmonton the other night. They scored that first goal, and you just see the bench and how they react. I think Florida's going to win, and I think whoever scores the first goal is going to win.
Well, I'll agree with you on a few things. I think Florida's going to find a way to pull it out tonight too. I think they're going to have their best game. They are the better team all around, but Edmonton has played better in the last 3 games.
Yeah.
No question, without question of a doubt. Connor McDavid has turned his game up. Hyman has turned his game up. Connor Brown has turned his game up. Nurse has, and even more so Skinner. Literally, Bobrovsky and Skinner have literally swapped positions in terms of being that stonewall goaltender.
Yeah.
Bobrovsky is now being a sieve, while Skinner is, out of his mind, blocking shots and making saves out of his mind. And you could say, if they do win tonight and he pitches a 1 goal or a shutout, you could even put Skinner in there as an MVP talk about. But we know it's going to be Connor McDavid. But
100% agree
yeah,
with it.
so
Exactly.
so for me, I kind of agree with you. And that whoever's best score that first goal, the pressure is going to mount. If Edmonton scores that first goal, Florida's going to sit there and go,
Oh my
"Oh
God.
shit, oh
Yeah.
shit, here we go again. Now we got to battle from behind, and now we got to do this." If Florida gets that first goal, all of a sudden it changes their momentum. It changes I think, their confidence. And I think they will play a lot sharper and a lot more loose and I think more organized. But Edmonton still has nothing to lose, man. They've come back from all odds to push a game 7, and they're going to be flying. They literally have nothing to lose. I can't see them being very nervous, even though it is game 7. You want to win the Stanley Cup, but they're on the precipice of doing something that hasn't been done in what is it? 80 years.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
82 years. You know what's amazing is, excuse me, is that last year the Florida Panthers bullied their way to the Stanley Cup Finals. They bullied their way to the Stanley Cup Finals. This year, not as much, but they still did. You know, Sam Bennett knocking out Marchand. They played a physical game. They intimidated a lot of teams. I don't see that happening in this Edmonton series. I feel like, especially the last 3 games, Edmonton's giving it back to them. They're not intimidated by Florida's physicality, and that's a huge factor for Edmonton. And one thing that does concern me a little bit is Bobrovsky was not at practice yesterday, JR. That that is mind-boggling to me. He was not.
Yeah, it is, but you know how goalies are. Goalies are weird in their minds, and they get into these ideas that they keep their routines going. And he didn't practice before days before games in the first 3 rounds. So now that they have 2 days off, he just wanted to go back to what he was doing in the first 3 rounds by not practicing the day before to get his mind in the same place, get his focus in the right. These goaltenders, they need all these little things and trinkets and mentalities and focus for them to be in that net to have the right mind frame. And if Bobrovsky was not practicing day before a game, and that's how he felt most comfortable, and that's how he focused, then let him do it. It's not like he needs to sharpen up or he needs this. We're in
Well,
game 7.
he
Game.
does he does need to sharpen up because he sucked the last 3 games.
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah, but it's practice yesterday is not gonna change that. I think it's more of his focus. It's focus more than anything. He's in shape. I mean, he just doesn't have to go
No,
out there and he can feel the pucks and all. But I would think for a goaltender in this situation, it's all about focus. It's about being on your game, being sharp, knowing where you are in the net, being able to really focus in on your angles and to do that. And again, if that's what he needs to do, I have no problem with him not being in practice yesterday. I mean, that's a routine he has. So be it. He just better show up tonight. That's for sure.
it's amazing. I think Game 7 tonight is probably will go down as one of the top 5 NHL playoff games ever watched, maybe top 2 or 3, because you've got non-hockey fans that are going to tune into this tonight, JR, because we just don't have a lot of Game 7s in sports. It doesn't happen that often. Proof in 1942 is the last time that a team's come back from a 3-0 deficit. 2019, the Blues beat Boston, but I think this is going to be one of the most watched games ever.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you, and I think a lot of it is because Connor McDavid, and everybody wants to see, what happens with him. There's no, it's gonna be watched all over Canada, and it's not just because it's a game 7. It's just how this whole series has unwind, how it's played out. Florida just coming out and just steamrolling Edmonton, and then all of a sudden Edmonton woke up on the right side of the bed, and I don't know what they were eating, but their energy and their ability to turn their game up has been immense. And I think you're right. You know about the physicality part where Florida had their way with a lot of teams, and punching guys in the face, playing physical, getting their verbal aspect. You had Darnell Nurse, you had Bouchard, you had
Okay.
Ekholm, you had all these guys that pushed back, that actually
Mhm.
went back and instigated, not just retaliated. They didn't let them push them around. Even look at even Draisaitl going physical like he did against Barkov. This is a team that I don't think you can push out of the game. I don't see anybody, with the exception of maybe Nugent Hopkins, that seems kind of afraid out there and can get pushed out of the game.
You know how we've mentioned Dreisaitl's been very quiet. I was told by a little birdie over the weekend that Draisaitl is dealing with a broken rib. So that kind of makes sense because he hasn't, listen, that pass I said to Bronson in game 6, I go, watch this pass from Draisaitl to Henrique or Fogel, the first goal. That, sauce pass in between a stick and a leg, unbelievable pass. But he hasn't been the same dominant player that he was in the regular season. So it kind of makes sense if he's got a broken rib. But listen, everybody's dealing with stuff right now. You've played with broken ribs.
Yeah, but a broken rib is a tough one to do,
Ooh,
because
that
everything in hockey is your core. Everything you
everything.
do is your abs, is bearing down on your core. It's every movement hits it. That could be one of the worst injuries to have to be able to play through. Remember a few years back, and Patrice Bergeron played with
Uh-huh.
a cracked collarbone and
Uh-huh.
and a and a spleen tear and all that stuff. And I mean, you got to be kidding me with the way what he was able to play through. And sometimes you just got to put the needles in, numb as much as you can, and go out and play. And hopefully you don't get hit there too often, and you can survive it. But
You know,
I always remember needles were going around like candy at the end of the playoffs for us.
it's unbelievable. It really is. You guys, it's unbelievable how a hockey player plays through stuff that no other athlete would play through. It's remarkable. Um, uh, One thing I wanted to mention was the the a lot of people are some people don't like this title. It's Canada's team right now, but I saw a clip in Montreal, you know, French speaking province, and there was a concert last night at the Bell Center, and in the walkways or the where the concession stands are, they had thousands of people chanting "Let's go Oilers." So there's going to be, I don't know if there'll be a person in Canada that will not be watching this game tonight, and that's why the ratings, especially for Sportsnet in Canada, will be off the charts, and I think they will be for ESPN. So it's going to be fantastic.
Well,
Uh,
it should be for Canada. I mean, to think that they haven't won a Stanley Cup in 31 years, Canada. Not 31 years. 1993 Montreal Canadiens.
yeah,
Obviously, John LeClair was the superstar, right? He's the overtime magic of John LeClair. Uh, the fact that they have not had anybody win a Stanley Cup in 31 years, that's got to frustrate the hell out of all of Canada that they haven't had that cup
well,
sitting on their
well, you,
property
well, you know why they haven't. You know why they haven't, right?
because their teams have sucked.
No, because Gary Bettman's against Canadian teams. That's what the Canadian fans.
That's so
It's
funny.
unbelievable. Gary Bettman doesn't want a Canadian team to win. Is that not what, like the conspiracy theorists? It's unbelievable that people think that Gary Bettman and the league don't want a Canadian team to win. It's the most asinine thing I hear. It's like,
Stupid. That's the stupidest thing I ever heard of. You know how good it would be for the game to have a Canadian team win? It would be so good for the game.
how about Zach Hyman, buddy? He had a remarkable regular season, but he has scored 16 goals in the playoffs, and they're not all set up by Connor McDavid. So quit giving me that bullshit that it's because he's playing with McDavid. He's had 16 goals. He
Amazing.
had a breakaway the other night in Game 6. This guy, if I'm Toronto fans, I'm like, why did we ever let this guy
Oh,
go?
absolutely. You think they're kicking themselves right now? I mean,
Right?
16 goals, and this. I don't think if there's a person that doesn't watch the game, that knows the game, that doesn't appreciate or like Zach Hyman, because he is an all around true hockey player. Defense, energy, plays physical, takes hits. Um, he does what is needed to do. Obviously, goes to those high traffic areas to score goals. You don't score as many goals as he did this year without risking your body going to those high traffic areas. And the only bad thing about Zach Hyman's year is he just signed a contract.
I know.
If I were them, I'd say, yeah, you know what, psych. I was just teasing. I
He,
want to let's renegotiate right
he's
now.
making $5.5 million. That is the best deal in hockey right now.
The
And
best deal in hockey. He's sitting
and
there. He's missing out on $6 million a year right now.
and his team, and he's they say he's one of the best guys ever. His
Yeah,
teammates love him. They
yeah.
love him.
It's you can see that in his demeanor, right, on the ice. You see his facial expressions. You see how he deals with how he talks to the other players. When other people score, he's just as excited if other people score. I mean, this guy seems like the real true blue, great, best teammate ever.
I love some of the audio clips from the bench in Game 6. It was Nurse and a couple other guys, and after, as the clock was winding down, the boys were on the bench going, "Fuel up the plane, boys! Fuel up the plane!" They're going back down to Florida. It's going to be fantastic.
Could
Um,
you imagine what you're feeling like if you're Florida, though? If you're the
oh,
Florida Panthers right now, if you're sitting in that locker room or you're going back on that plane, you're just sitting there and going like, "What in the Sam hell has just happened to our team? What just happened to our Stanley Cup chances, and what has happened to the dominance that we've had? Because this that could go down as the biggest epic failure breakdown in NHL history."
yeah, I've left our buddy alone, your buddy, my buddy Keith Kachuk. I'm not calling him. I'm not
No way. I'm not going anywhere near Walt
not
right now. He's
not a
probably
chance.
losing his mind.
Not a chance. Listen, they're saying all the right things. They got to. But is there not a huge part of them is sitting there going, how the hell did we get to this position? Like, do they bring in a Anthony Robbins type guy, a psychologist, to talk to them on a day off and try to get their mind straight again? Because that's big in sports right now, and try to get their
They,
psyche
they
back.
need more than that. They need a hypnotist to come in there and try to get them to play a different game. They need a total hypnotist right now,
Right?
because everybody is every. It seems like it is a totally different hockey team. It's like they're skating in quicksand, whereas Edmonton, it looks like they're skating on that nice smooth sheet of ice in Edmonton. They're just flying on and loving life and enjoying what's happening. But it's
Well, you just
two
brought
totally different teams.
you brought something up just now that you brought up a week ago, and that is the condition of the ice. And it was game 5, and I even tweeted out in the first period. I go, "This ice sucks." It was bouncing all over the place. So we need to watch that tonight, JR. Is that going to be a factor? Because that obviously, I think that goes in Florida's favor with having shitty ice.
Yes.
And that could be a huge factor tonight. But the biggest thing, before we move on to a couple other topics, the biggest thing that we've seen in the Stanley Cup final is, and credit to Mark Stewart, the assistant coach, they have killed off 19 of 20 penalties in the Stanley Cup final. Edmonton has. So Florida has scored one power play goal in the Stanley Cup finals. How many shorthanded goals has Edmonton scored?
I think
Two.
there's two. Yeah.
Two. So think about that. They've got more shorthanded goals than the Florida power play does.
Yeah. Well, they always say, and we said this early, that this could be a special teams final. Whoever wins the special teams is going to win the Stanley Cup. We've heard that from a few people, but we said it before the series started. And you're right about the ice conditions. This is 2.5 weeks ago that this started. This whole series started. And in 2.5 weeks in Florida, that temperature rises and that humidity rises significantly. And so it's going to be really interesting. But it is a special teams series. And whoever wins the special teams tonight, I think, again, will come out on top.
Well, you know me. I can I always side with the referees, so I want to give them a shout out because getting assigned to the game to a game seven is huge in any series. But getting assigned to game seven of the Stanley Cup final is the biggest compliment any official can get. And the officials that are going to be working game seven tonight are Steve Kazari, number 40, our buddy that got carried off in the stretcher this year. Dan O'Rourke, number 9. Matt McPherson, number 83, is on the line. And Johnny Murray, number 95, who I consider the best lineman in the NHL. You know how many Stanley Cup finals the four of these guys have worked? 22 Stanley Cup finals. So I think we're qualified to work this game.
Yeah, wow. And you know what? It's going to be very interesting to see how they call it. It's going to, because obviously going
100%.
to be discipline's going to be at an epic importance, and the referees have to have a happy median to allowing these guys to play, but also making those calls that they have to make, even though they're tough ones.
You know, you're absolutely right. Game sevens, there usually aren't as many penalties in game sevens because the coaches are preaching to them, to the team in the dressing room before the game. We
Yep.
can't take penalties. We got to stay out of the penalty box. So the penalties you'll see tonight are the obvious trip where a guy's skating up the ice, he gets tripped. Maybe a slash on the hands where he loses the puck and there's a change of possession and scoring opportunities. If there's a scoring opportunity, kick under the hands, he gets hooked, he's unable to take a shot. Those are the fouls you'll see tonight.
Yeah,
If
delay of game, somebody throws a puck out, you know, the obvious things, but for the most
the
part,
penalties they call tonight is going to be a penalty that everybody in the building can see. Everybody I'm watching it, you and I watching it on TV can see. You are not going to call a ticky tack penalty in Game 7 of the Stanley
you know,
Cup.
it's interesting you say that because to get a game like this for a referee it's got to be nerve wracking also. So there must be what's the mentality for a referee sitting in that locker room before they go out because they know they're going to be very looked upon and every eye in hockey is going to be watching what they're calling and they're going to get criticism regardless and they want to do the best they can. What's it like for them in that locker room? What are they thinking about? What are they talking about before a game like this?
There's a lot of nervous energy. Although you're trying to exude confidence, there's a bit of you inside you and in your stomach that's like, I don't want to be a factor in this game. I don't want my name mentioned online and the old days in the newspaper. I don't want. I don't. Let's drop the puck. Let the best team win. I don't want to be the reason that a team wins or loses this game. So these guys have, because as I just mentioned, they've done 22 Stanley Cup finals, so they've got that experience. Um, but there's a lot of nervous energy in
Yeah.
there.
Now, would they be prone not to call um, penalties because of that fear of not being?
I don't know if prone not to call, but they're going to make their if they're not sure, they're not throwing their arm up. They are throwing if they don't get a good look at it. There's no, this isn't January where it was kind of a soft call. No, this is like I said earlier. The penalties that they call are going to be the obvious penalties that everybody can see. So there's some nervous energy this morning. The guys will be having breakfast and then they'll go work out in the gym and then they'll go have lunch together and get their pregame nap and get to the game a couple hours before and it's the Stanley Cup final. They're going to have ton of people in the dressing room, or a few people with Stephen Walkham and Colin Campbell will be in there wishing the guys good luck. And it's a huge honor for them, but it's a lot of pressure as well.
Yeah. Well, I wish them all the best of luck. I wish everybody the best of luck because again, um, these teams have played extremely hard. Both of them have had amazing seasons, and they've given us something really to get excited about and cheer for. And my hats off to both teams. And it's too bad somebody has to lose,
I know.
but on both sides, I want to see Connor McDavid win, but I also want to see Matthew Tkachuk win.
Right.
That's so for me. I'd rather have Matthew Tkachuk win just for me, but Anyway,
But who do you think's going to win? I said Florida. I think is going to win. Who do you
yeah, I think Florida's going to win.
do?
I think they're going to find a way to sneak one on the power play. I think Bobrovsky's going to play a better game. I think they're going to lock it up a little bit more. I think they're really going to take away Connor McDavid. If Draisaitl is a little injured, they will probably take a little bit more liberties at him, but to try to keep Connor McDavid, they have to stop Connor McDavid because he's the main reason. Him and Hyman are the main reason why, and Skinner is why there is a game 7. So they need to find a way to stop these guys and get better special teams.
Well, Verhage, I think if guys like Verhage and Reinhardt score, then Florida will win this game
Well,
because they
Reinhardt's got to score. I mean,
got to
Reinhardt's
score.
been invisible, right? He has not done pretty much anything. Barkov has kind of been invisible the last 3 games. Matthew Tkachuk had a really good game 5, but it wasn't enough. Not nobody showed up for the Panthers in game 6. They just got steamrolled. So who knows? But at game 7 again, you got to take everything that's just played out. All 6 games don't mean a thing. And you know these both these teams know what they need to do to win, and it's just who is going to be most precise, who is going to want it more, right, and who's going to make the fewest mistakes. Period. That's what it's going to come down to.
And you know what? We talked about it before, but this line of Connor Brown, Henrique, and Janmark has really been the difference
Yeah,
for the last 3 games, JR. It
yeah.
has obviously Connor's Connor, but that line has been outstanding where Florida hasn't been doing that.
Well, I think that's the big difference. You can't. We always say, and when you're in the locker room or afterwards, when people, and I've always seen people that win the Stanley Cup. You can't win Stanley Cups without your role players.
No.
You cannot win without your third and fourth lines doing their job, and especially the third line. The third line becomes probably one of the most important lines after your first line because if they can't put some pucks in the net, supply a little bit of offense, be that defensive style line that could gives you energy, shuts down the other team's best line. If you don't have that, you're not gonna win. And these guys have done that like as well as you can possibly do it.
What could be better than a game 7 tonight? What is the best outcome uh, going into a game or having a game 7? What is the only thing that could be better than this?
Overtime.
Exactly. Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
All
Man,
right. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go.
you're
Yeah.
so smart. I thought I could stump you. No, overtime, right?
Yep. Overtime.
Can you
So
imagine?
let's wait for an overtime game, and I think Sam Bennett might get his scoreless drought ended and snipe one in overtime. That's my prediction.
I love it. I love it. Uh, Before we leave, got to give a shout out Don Tortorella. It's his birthday today, so happy birthday to Torts. I love that guy.
I do too. I do too. I'm a big John Tortorella fan.
Loved him when he coached and I was reffing in the league. He's a family man. He's a dog lover. I think he has a son in the military that serves our country. I just love the guy. And shout out to John Tortorella on his birthday today.
Awesome. Well, listen, this is a great show, buddy. We will see you on Wednesday to talk about season in general, this final game, celebrate the Stanley Cup champion because we are going to get that this evening. It's been a hell of a ride, Tim. So again, thanks to Whiskey in the Wild, Bet Online, Protected Net Guards, and of course Caffeine TV, Believe. Everybody that supports our podcast. It's been a lot of fun. So Tim, great job today. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the festivities tonight, and then we will see you on Wednesday.
Sounds good, buddy.
See you,
Enjoy.
pal. Bye,
See ya.
guys.